Hi, I'm Joseph Phillips, the Director of Education for Instructing.com. And today I want to talk to you about the PMP PMA. No, this is not a new credential from PMI. I'm really talking about you, the project manager, having the positive mental attitude, the PMA. So important in our role as a project manager to have a positive mindset, to have a positive attitude, and then we're setting the example in our actions for other people to have that same thing, to have positive action. So positive mindset, positive attitude, positive action, the PMA. So one way that we begin by embracing this idea of the positive mental attitude is to create the project vision. Now, I can do this by myself, but that's not as effective as I'm doing this with my team and key stakeholders. That what's the end result? Who's going to be happy by what we're creating? How will the thing that we create or this task that we do, how will it affect people's lives? So we have to be very personal about what we are creating. And then that helps us to determine the quality of what we're creating and then paint the picture, which is the project vision, of that desired future state. When we think about a project, we think about MACD, M-A-C-D, that we're moving something, we're adding something to the environment, we're changing something to the environment, or we're deleting something from the environment. That's really what all projects do. You move, add, change, delete, or maybe a combination of those if you're replacing something. So positive mental attitude is we think about what are we doing in the project to create that desired future state, and then we make that very personal. How will that improve or change or affect people's lives by what we are doing? What's the ripple effect that we have? And then we think about your PMA and leadership. Leadership, we're talking about aligning and motivating and directing people by getting people excited about that vision, about that desired future state. That we're building others up and getting that synergy and that sense of shared ownership in creating that desired future state. So you as a leader have to have, or really should have, that positive mental attitude, that idea that we can do this, that we can get this done, and we can achieve, and we can do great things. That we're not sitting back and saying, I'm in charge, and this is how you're going to do it. That's not very inspiring, that we can do it. Now, one way that we do that is with some emotional intelligence, and there's two components here that I really want to talk about: self-awareness and self-control. Self-awareness is you think about your emotions, how you speak to others and what you say to others, and being aware of your actions. That you don't want to say one thing, you don't want to say, okay team, we'll be really excited, this is what we're trying to create, but we say that with no real belief, with no enthusiasm. That's not going to be inspiring. Or we say one thing, but we do another and act a different way. That is not inspiring or a good form of leadership. It's really not leadership at all. And then we need self-control, that we need to control our actions and how we interact with others. And sometimes that means that we get out of the way. We don't try to take over the project work. We empower our team to do the work, that we help the team when necessary, but we need self-awareness and self-control with our emotions and our behavior. One thing that I have learned and still learn over and over is I need to think before I speak. So sometimes there's a disconnect between here and here, right? That I want to slow down and think before I speak. So often it's not what you say, but what you hold back and don't say. Because sometimes that gets out and then it's too late, right? Now you have created a new issue, some hurt feelings, or people are upset, or they don't like what you say, and you go down in the eyes of others. So having some self-control of the tongue is very important. That think before I speak, but also think before I act. Part of being self-aware and having self-control with emotional intelligence. Let's talk for a moment about our PMA management, that positive mental attitude in management. The goal of project management is very simple. It's to get things done, to create business value. that we are answering the why. So when we think about management's perspective in getting things done, coupled with that positive mental attitude, we really have to think about two things. What actions do we need to do? What actions need doing? And then we think about, well, what actions are wasteful, that are not contributing to the business value? We want to do more of the work that is of value and less of the work that's not of value. So you think about Pareto's law, the 80-20 rule. Like 80% of your income comes from 20% of your clients. Well, I would wager that 80% of the value in your project comes from just 20% of the activities that you do as a project manager. That there are some activities that are of most value to the organization, and you've got a lot of busy work that doesn't add value. So let's see if we can get rid of some of that busy work and spend more time creating value for the organization or the customer. So positive mental attitude, PMA. I've got some points here I want to share with you. First off, you can do more than you think. And I don't mean physically do more, but I mean that you can do more than you currently think you can when it comes to your capabilities to be a great project manager, to pass a particular exam or earn a new credential. That I think that most of us can do more than we think, because we are our own worst critics sometimes. That we need to tell that critic to be quiet and have confidence in ourselves to move forward and be successful. So just think about what you can do. Like one of the things that we do in project management is we often look back and think about how far we've come. So if you're ever hard on yourself or down on yourself or overwhelmed, pause and look back at all of the things that you've done to get to this point in your life. That you could do more than what you believe. Would you have thought 10, 15 years ago, or even 2 or 3 years ago, that you would be where you are now? Look at all the successes that you've had to reach where you are today. You can do more than what you think, and you can continue to do more than what you think. Now within our project, let's think with our team, how can we make our experience better and more enjoyable? That we should have joy in our work, that we want our work to be more effective and to look forward to doing the work. That we don't want to have that Sunday night dread when we think about Monday morning. Let's look for time-saving techniques to get rid of that waste, to get rid of those non-value added activities, and then how can we add more value? And then develop a system and a cadence where you periodically look at what is and is not working in your project and then attack those. So when we think about becoming a better project manager, a better professional, a better team member, and having this PMA, this positive mental attitude, there are 4 things that you could do, especially when it comes to work or activities that you dread. Do it first. The things that you dread, do those first. Just get it done. That's the second point. Get it done. Take the time and effort that's needed and get those activities done. Can you delegate it? If you really hate it, it's something that's a time suck, can you delegate it? Can you automate it? Is there a piece of software that can help you do that activity faster and on a regular basis? Can you automate it? One of the ways that I automate is when I do reports. I have customers I consult with, and they want status reports. They want to know, how are we doing on time? How are we doing on cost? What's happening in the project? So I do that in Excel, and I have a little macro, a little dashboard, and it generates the report, and I just have to edit a few things. So can I automate those things that I don't enjoy? The point being that you want to attack it. Don't ignore it. Like a toothache, the longer you wait, the worse it's going to be. Examine the process, tailor the process, and get it done. All right, great job. That's what I had to share with you today when it comes to having that positive mental attitude. I think so much of project success comes down to you and your attitude as a project manager, because that's what your team members are going to see as how they should emulate their behavior, their activities in their life. All right, if you like videos like this, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment below. I want to hear what works for you in your project. I'll see you in future videos. Keep moving forward.